What would America look like without racism? What would the education system look like? What would the economy look like? What would a workday look like? Just basic. Like, what would America look like without racism?
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to America Who Hurt You. I'm your host, Sarah Jones, and you might know me from the voices of my characters, but today you're going to hear just my voice in conversation with the incomparable LaTosha Brown. She's a wonderful friend of mine and also the co-founder of the vital group Black Voters Matter. So yes, we need her like never before. And alongside being a brilliant political strategist and organizer, she's also got incredible talents that I won't spoil here, but you'll want to listen to the end. She's got beautiful wisdom to share with us about where we are in these times and how to keep going. But before we dive in, whether you are listening to this episode or watching it on YouTube, which you really should be, I hope you'll share it and follow us on socials at America Who Hurt You. You can also subscribe to our Substack at Yes, I Am Sarah Jones. All right, it is time for the amazing LaTosha Brown. Now, I have to tell you, LaTosha, one of the first times I ever got to witness your work, I was doing something at a conference where you were presenting and you came out national treasure, organizer. I don't know anybody who doesn't look to you for, ask Stacey Abrams, ask anybody who are our heroes. If y'all who are listening are not as familiar with LaTosha's work, I remember I had a writer friend who said, I'm your favorite rapper's favorite writer. You are our favorite leader's favorite leader. And, not only do you do that work and organize, you helped us with the We Ain't Buying It campaign, the economic reclaiming of our power. You do all of that. I've been doing this deep dive into your work, and I swear my mental health has improved. And what I've been saying, if you spend 5 minutes with LaTosha Brown, you will come away with healing. It's amazing because it's political healing, right? We think of politics as over here and healing as over there, and you are at the intersection. So thank you. Doc, fix us. We in trouble as a country. What we gonna do, LaTosha? This democracy, she lost.
She is lost. Let me just say, that is the best, the most generous, the most gracious opening introduction I have ever had, sister. One, because I have such immense love and respect for you and all you do to keep us grounded and laughing and just engaged in human behavior. It's interesting kind of what I feel in this moment. Like, I think our politics are driven by our principles. Like what you believe is what you accept, is what you promote, right? And I think that there's a misalignment around what we really believe and who we think we are and what we're actually doing. And so some of that is off. Some of it ain't really off. Some of it is, this country has been quite consistent. Who hurt you? I think that's such a valid question, but I think America has been very comfortable in the space of who we hurt, right? What we see as the strength of this country has really been rooted in who we've hurt. Right. And so if you think about, we're the superpower. Well, the country that prides itself as the wealthiest in the world, and 42 million of your people are on SNAP benefits, not because they're not working, not because they're lazy, not because they don't have dreams, not because they don't have families, but because you've created an economic system in this country that does not give equal opportunity to all folks, right? And everybody is not rewarded for working hard, because some of the poorest people I know, right, are working for are hard workers, right? Yes. And so there's the propaganda of who we are. And so I think that we're kind of forced to sit in this moment. One of my mentors used to always say, and it just used to drive me crazy. He would always say, struggle is a blessing. I'm like, nah, it ain't. Like, I would get so annoyed. I'm like, no, don't nobody want to do this. No, nobody wants to struggle, right? And over the years, and I was in my 20s, and when he would say it, it was just like, it would drive me crazy. And the older that I get, the more I really appreciate what he's saying. Because really, struggle births something, right? And when I think about how you build a muscle, you don't build a muscle by just saying, hey, muscle, I need you to get bigger. That don't work. You don't build a muscle like I used to think, go get me some new workout clothes. I get the pretty matching kind and not show up.
Look cute and get fit.
It didn't work, right? But what it required some struggle. It required some hard work. It requires actually the tearing of muscles. The way you build muscle is you have to tear. There is a repositioning, there is a stretch, there is stress. And it becomes this new thing in some ways, right? Using the old elements, it's almost like you're using the thing against itself. You're using the tension, right? But the bottom line is, I think that's what's happening in this country right now. I think people are being forced to get real.
Oof.
We all been living fake for a minute, if we want to be honest, right? We all wanted to hide up under this idealism of American exceptionalism, right? Oh, we're the biggest, we're the greatest, we're the baddest on the planet. Well, hell, you give me 250 years of free labor, I'll be the richest country in the world too. I mean,
That
you
part, and
know,
built
if
on top of some stolen land that didn't cost you nothing.
on
If you ain't
top
got to
of,
pay no mortgage.
at the end of the day, who gave you a deed to this land? All of this is arbitrary. And we're
Mm,
making it be something that's fundamentally wrong, because really there should be no such thing as land ownership. That's capitalism, right?
yes,
The
yes,
truth of the matter is, what if we saw ourselves as stewards, as our
yes,
indigenous brothers and sisters did?
yes.
Stewards of the land. Yes, there were always people who had, this is territory that we got stewardship over. And yes, there were fights even before that around folks in the territory. But the whole concept that you own something that you didn't create, you had no involvement, that was really a gifting for you to sustain life, and kill the life on it, not just the life in terms of human beings, but the environmental, like all the elements of life. There's something fundamentally wrong. So in
Yes.
this moment that we're seeing this resettling, it's really an opportunity for us to radically reimagine, reframe who we are, and then even ask this question, not just who hurt you, America, but who is America?
Yes. Yes. I love this because here we are in this year where this country is marking the 250th anniversary of, they called it a Declaration of Independence. They needed that little voice that's on the pharmaceutical ads. That's like, some restrictions may apply. Your doctor may talk to your doctor about whether you actually qualify for this or not. Your rights may not be, you may need some amendments in another 200 years, girl. Sorry about that. Like we need to be honest about what this thing declared and for whom. But I heard you say, and you were talking specifically to Black women, but you speak to all of us in this country. We get to be the founders of what this actually
Oh,
is going to
absolutely.
become. Will you
Oh,
speak more
absolutely.
about that? Like you and I get to be founding mothers. Like if we're going to be honest,
Yes,
what does the real
yes.
truth of the way forward look like?
It's interesting because the Declaration of Independence is actually one of my favorite documents. Given the disclaimer that you raised, that's so funny. That's hilarious. I remember reading a book around, it was the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and it was
Mhm.
actually supposed to be around the pursuit of wealth. There was a whole struggle around that being
Oh,
wealth instead of happiness. And so there's some aspirational, really powerful ideas that are in that, but the actualization took another form, right? And only for a few. So that's interesting, right?
wait, I've never heard this before. So basically what
It,
you're
it's about,
saying
it was supposed
is,
to be prosperity. It was around prosperity and wealth. And there was literally a debate around that being wealth and
wow.
prosperity, not happiness. Quite frankly, they did create a different kind of framework for themselves because they were not of the monarchy. They were not blue bloods. They did not come from this line of kings and queens. And so they were forever kind of relegated to a space. And it's interesting, I think in one way, there was this kind of appetite to do something different and freedom for white men with land, quite frankly, let's be real clear.
Mhm.
But they also had very limited vision of really being able to see the fullness and the wholeness of humanity. What I do think that messed the whole Declaration of Independence up, right, of really being as powerful of a document, is that it did not address gender
Mm,
and race,
mhm,
that in the actualization of it, that
mhm,
all men and women, right,
mhm,
that all of us are created equal. Where it bumps up against that is with gender and race, where you see
mhm,
the hypocrisy of it are those two things. I think Black women sit specifically squarely at the intersection of gender and race. And so since we sit squarely there, I think
mm,
that there's a particular way that we've been able to navigate through this nation. And I think there's a particular kind of way that we've been able to show up for ourselves and others, and even for a nation that has not shown love for our communities, our people, and our families,
mm,
and our bodies and our agency. And so everywhere I go, I usually ask people two questions. I asked them to close their eyes. And my first question to you is, what would America look like without racism? What would the education system look like? What would the economy look like? What would a workday look like? Just basic. Like, what would America look like without racism? And then the second question is, what would this nation look like if all human beings were valued and respected? I didn't say you got to like them. I didn't say you got to work with them. I didn't say you got to love them. I just said basic, valued, and respected. Now you can open your eyes. The reason why that question is key and critical is naming one thing that has manifested in the physical realm that wasn't first envisioned. There's nothing that
you got to dream it up
nothing.
First. Got to dream it up.
You have got to dream it up first. And then, so are we saying that we have relegated ourselves, that racism is a truth that is going to be with us forever? Like in some way that is my inheritance, that we are operating as if racism is an empirical truth. And it is not. Racism is almost like a compass for us, like our orientation, our direction. And that's all, particularly in people in this country, right? I just read that there is a study that was done on white America, that part of how they see success is in relationship to everybody else, how well they are doing over other people. Like think
over
about
other
that,
races,
right?
Over this idea of other races, right?
Other races in particular. And so that in itself can't be good. It can't be good for them. It can't be good for anybody. So if you are a poor white person, like racism convinces you that something is wrong with you, that you have done something wrong. Do you know how unfair and unrighteous and unjust that is for you? So instead of having a larger analysis of the systems that are literally killing all of us, you're literally looking at the success of people of different races and seeing that they've taken something from you. Right? That kind of psychology that we really got to deal with. We've got to shift from seeing ourselves as citizens of the America that we are familiar with, and shift ourselves and start seeing ourselves as founders of a newer nation, America 2.0, whatever you want to call it. When you think like a founder, you're thinking about systems and institutions and ways of being, and how do you move people. You're thinking about larger questions around how do you take care of people. But in this old system, the America 1.0 version, right, we have been rooted in white supremacy, that everything is in relationship to white folks. Racism is going to be injected some way. It is going to be used to justify the diminishing of rights and resources by a group of people. They could care less, quite frankly, about any of us, most of us. But we have to have a little deeper analysis in that. And so instead of trying to shift a vision that I think has run its course, I think it is important for us to actually build upon the brilliance and the spirit of people and think of ourselves very differently. We are founders of a new nation.
I don't know about you, but I am definitely ready for the upgrade to the new America. And like LaTosha suggested, we can start dreaming it up while we take this break. We're back with one of my favorite founding mothers, LaTosha Brown. And up next, she breaks down how not only racism, but also the myth that we should all be billionaires is ultimately impoverishing the entire country. You said something that I really want to go back to, this idea of when we are used as Black folks, as people of color, as women, whatever it is, when we are used by the people who want to stay in power to roll back some rights that are bothering them. They use us first, but the impact on white folks, and it's not just poor white folks or working class white folks. No. I was thinking about I'm sure you know about this, that in order to keep Black people from being able to enjoy a public pool because they were so racist, nobody gets a pool. That's a perfect little example of how they've done that. Do you see the greed of this moment, this even billions aren't enough, trillions aren't enough? Do you see that as connected to what you're talking about here?
Oh, absolutely. Part of the reason why we're seeing authoritarianism rise and why it doesn't seem as much resistant, because in the back of our heads, if we're honest, everybody think they can be a billionaire in America. Now, they've done a really good job with propaganda to make all of us believe we just got to run up on the right idea, the right lottery ticket, the right wealthy spouse, that all of us at some point, we have equal opportunity to be a billionaire. That's what we believe, right? And so what it's done, it's softened and dulled our senses of how insane it is for, like, really, why does one person need $1 trillion? Why you even need $1 billion? Like
You
really, just
don't.
to buy stuff? Like,
You
at some
don't.
point, I am far, far, far from billionaire with any nair on the end of my name, right? And I any nair on the end of my name. I'm far, far from that. And just recently, quite frankly, out of the We Ain't Buying It campaign, I like to shop though. I like stuff. And
Me
I like
too.
to shop
I
and I like
think we're
stuff, right?
allowed to do both. We're
And
allowed
we're
we're allowed to have
we
both.
are.
Yes.
We ought to have both. But during the We Ain't Buying It campaign, which was really like for that phase of it, it was 5 days, I stopped shopping, and particularly around the holiday season. I've done boycotts, participated in boycotts before, but around the holiday season to not spend money, that's so not my MO. Like, I'm the person who Amazon was coming to my house twice a week, if not 3 times. I have a box every single day, right?
They were like,
And
LaTosha misses us. We gonna head back over
listen,
there.
and that what I became aware of is I don't really need anything.
No.
So with the Christmas season this past year, like last year, the Christmas season, I did wind up getting some gifts, but I got far, far less than what I normally get.
Mm.
And I didn't go shopping. Right after the campaign, I was sitting in my home and I was like, I was literally trying to think up stuff to buy. And I'm like, wait. Why are you trying to think up stuff to buy? Even when people were asking me what I wanted, family members, what I wanted for Christmas, I couldn't come up with anything. When I put the frame on it, do I need it? It changed the whole thing. There's very, very little that I need. Now, and I'm not putting that on everybody because folks do have legitimate needs. And there's a whole lot of stuff I want. Now, that's a whole nother podcast. I can tell you what I want, right? But if I'm fundamentally honest about what I need, I'm realizing that I have been caught up in this consumer capitalism that is feeding me, that I am constantly in a state of want. I want more, I want better, I want bigger, I want, when really and truly, I don't have enough space for my clothes right now. Right. And I just gave bags of clothes away. Like, I don't have space. And so I'm saying that for myself because I think we need to really be examining ourselves in this moment and just examining in general that we have been caught up in this quagmire of constant need. And I wonder, can you hold gratitude? Like, can you really truly hold gratitude when you're in a constant state of wanting and need? Right, in that
Yes.
space. And sometimes, when I think about it, when I had less,
Yes.
I was more grateful. Right? Like, it's like when I had less, I had more. The truth of the matter is I was so grateful for what I had. And
Yes.
now I'm in the space where I am trying to think up stuff that I need.
Ooh.
Right. And
Yes.
so that's a paradigm shift for me. In this moment, yes, while this moment is hell,
Oof. Child.
it's
So what is
like
it?
really,
Struggle. What is it? Struggle is a
the struggle is a blessing. And we are in this moment. And I talk about this often too. I also have been really, really obsessed with stars. So Sarah, I don't know if I love stars. My friends bought me this fancy, fantastic telescope for my birthday.
oh my God.
I'm just taken by stars. And part of that came out of with Harriet Tubman. If people know the story of Harriet Tubman, she followed the North Star. Now, this is a woman that couldn't read or write and had blackouts and she had a traumatic brain injury, right?
Yep.
She followed this North Star. So in my mind, the North Star, which is the Polaris star, was the brightest star. And then I find out that it's not the brightest star all the time. It is not. It is the most consistent, but it's not the brightest star in the sky. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, right? But it is dependable and it's consistent because of its proximity to the earth. But I say that because that was kind of like an eye-opening for me. And then I thought about it. I thought about like what they call dead stars. Like there's stars that we're looking at in the sky right now
They're gone.
that no longer exist.
Wow.
That they've died maybe a million light years ago, right?
Wow.
All we are seeing is the residue of its former glory days when it was a star. But
Uh-oh,
baby,
come
that
on
star is
now.
dead and gone. All we see it, right?
Ooh.
And so I want people to think about this in this context, because in the darkest political night that we've experienced in our lifetime in this country, isn't that the moment where the stars are needed?
Ooh.
Because really, stars are out in day. Their stars are out all the time. Their stars are out now. But the only difference is at night,
Mm,
you're actually able to see the illumination of the stars. And
mm,
so I am saying that I see that in this moment, those of us who believe in righteousness, those of us who believe in humanity, those of us that can carry and hold enough love in our heart for people that are different from us, those of us that can actually see the magic in life in itself and all the beauty of the environment, those of us that see that, we have to see ourselves as stars in
ooh.
this dark, dark sky. And that in this moment, we have to recognize that some of them stars that are acting like they're stars are dead stars. They are only the residue of their former days.
Mm,
And they burning out real
mm.
soon, real hard, right? And so we can't
Ooh.
get distracted by that. And so I'm hoping that we see this as a hard reset, not to
Mm,
spend so much emotional energy on how we're going to change folks, but we've got to believe that there are more folks, and I believe that. I believe that there are more people in this nation that are love bugs like you and I. There are
yes.
more people in this nation that believe and actually have the capacity in our humanity to hold this idea that we can create a nation that all are treated with dignity and respect, and that we
Mm,
can create policies that don't demean people or dehumanize them, but actually lift them, that we
mm.
can actually advance as human beings. Why are people working and not able to feed their families?
That's right.
That needs to be the question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we not have a healthcare system with
Mm,
all of this technology that exists? Why do we not have a healthcare system that is free for
mm.
everybody? I mean, what's
Yes,
so bad about free healthcare? Poor people gonna get well? Like, it's insane,
it
right?
is
But there,
insane.
that goes back to this belief that there are people that take pride that they have access in something that others don't, because it feeds their ego to make them feel like they in fact are better than the other people. Instead of wanting that perception of being better, be better.
Listen.
Just be better.
Just
That
be
part.
better. Believe me, I'm literally going to the dentist to get a new mouth guard because this administration has me grinding my teeth at night with, like I can get through the day, but at night it all comes out and I'm like,
It all comes out.
and I'm so mad and I hate this person. But the truth is, even as deeply limited as these people are in terms of being able to access the humanity and the love bug within them, right? And you watch their greed, you watch their lies. It really is like watching supervillains, right? That's how it feels to a lot of us.
That's right.
And yet every supervillain has an origin story. And
That's right.
and
That's
we
right.
know that for whatever reason, these folks who think they, are supposed to be the top of the pile, I'm a straight white man, I'm supposed to own all the things and be better than everybody. And then somehow you still are either, you feel unworthy or your father calls you a
That's right.
loser when you're a child. And
Right.
then you go around calling everybody else loser for 70 years.
That's
That
right.
comes from somewhere. And so one of the questions I like to ask is, do you think even the richest, the ones who think they're on top, that our politics are being driven by their trauma,
Absolutely.
right? Do you feel that way, that like
Oh,
their mental health
absolutely.
issues are driving our politics?
Oh, absolutely. Part of the reason why I love this podcast is America Who Hurt You. I was like, somebody need to ask them, like, who hurt you? I believe that all human beings are worthy of love. I believe that in my heart of hearts. We're just like what you think? You think a whole race of people is just here to serve you? There's a lack of being able to actually see the humanity in others. We've seen people really be able to take their pain and their trauma and create systems out of their trauma, their feeling of unworthiness. The whole idea of white supremacy is based on what I believe is this feeling of inferiority, that there's something in you that when you have to actually see something negative in another person and unable to see their humanity, then there's something in you that is feeling that way, right? And that hurt and that pain. And I believe that everybody's deserving love. I think that there are people, the folks that the supervillains villains that are in power right now, they deserve love. So much love that we need to sit them down. They need to sit at home. They need to go and get some real therapy and get some help and heal their wounds. They absolutely don't need to be leading, because they're not only hurting other folks, they're really hurting themselves too in their own spirit. I don't care how much money, right? That's why they drunk.
And
That's why
miserable.
and miserable. And we've got to see it for what it is. The strong are masking themselves as strong, right? And using dominance and using domineering because they feel so inferior, right? Ooh. Because they are hurt, because they have been so traumatized. And we've got to love them enough to move them the hell out the way so that they don't hurt themselves and others, right? And hopefully pray that they will get the kind of help that they need to actually support somebody, being honest around what they are doing and how they're hurting and harming others. That's mental trauma. And so I'm hoping, yes, to your point, yes, the people who are running this country right now, right, have deep-seated issues. I don't know if it's their families. I don't know if it's the wealth, because I actually think wealth can distort things too.
Yes.
Yeah, the part that we don't talk about, we talk about like everybody want to get rich, because we all want to get rich.
Poverty that's injustice, right? We know that in the richest country in the world, whatever, the fact that anybody goes without, that's just pure injustice and a form of violence. So yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. But what we're not really seeing is we see being wealthy as like the catch-all. It's like the antidote to solve everything. Like, are we not seeing there are millions of miserable ass wealthy people? Do we not see that? Right? Part of it is whoever you are, your money is just going to amplify that. Right? If like whoever you are, your money just amplifies that, because it gives you the opportunity to actually enact that which you feel. So yes, I am not surprised that you got somebody that will destroy kind of a historic site to build a ballroom. Like, I see that because you have never been attached to anything that has created not even a sense of nostalgia, but even a value, a place of safety for you. And so you don't see it as safe and you don't see it as valuable, right? Yes, you got Trump creating a whole ICE force, right, to actually traumatize people, because the only time he's ever felt powerful is dominating and hurting and harming people, right? He has not been able to get people to love who he is or love him. I'm saying that because we've got to really be able to recognize it in leaders, because those people are just not fit to lead. They're incapable of holding a space to actually value every single human being, whether they agree with them or not. They're incapable of actually just moving from a place of love because they don't know love. Right. And that's the part that's the tragedy in it. And that's the part that's sad about it. Right. What if we valued kind of the advancement of humanity and centered human beings over centering profits? Anytime I hear that phrase, like, well, it was just business, it's only about business, I already know that means they about to screw somebody. It's almost like that becomes a catch-all justification of hurting, harming, taking, undermining people. No, nothing is ever just about business. Everything that we're involved in on this planet has implications to people. Everything.
Okay, that was so many mic drops. I need to take a break just so we can go get some more equipment. We'll be right back. We are back with the brilliant LaTosha Brown. And if you think her voice is powerful as a speaker, wait until you hear her sing. I love the fact that the Declaration of Independence is one of your favorite documents. I've heard other folks talk about a declaration of interdependence. Maybe like you're saying, do we start all over? Are we just seeing again where we started? Because like you said, these founding fathers were trying to get away from a king, but were they really not still kind of looking for their own version of a kingdom where they all got to be kings? Is America just a narcissist to the bone? Have we always had this?
There's a gospel song called Jacob's Ladder. Each ring goes higher and higher. What does it require to actually move higher, like to go to our higher selves?
Yes.
And I say that to say, I don't think that there's a starting over. Right. I think that there's too much blood has been shed. Too much has happened on all sides. There's some beauty that's been created. There's been a lot of pain and harm that has been created. I think we are entering this era that is requiring us to really look at the reset. How do we correct what has happened and the pain that we've done, right? But also, how are we reimagining? Something else is going to be required for us. So it won't be a go back and get it. It's going to be new, whatever it is. It just would be, what would that newness look like? Would that newness look like something that's similar to what was we were familiar with? Would that newness look like a quantum leap? How will we actually, will that newness take us lower or will it elevate us? What is it that we could use to actually take us to the next level?
Take us
That at the end
higher.
of the day, to take us higher. If y'all ain't figured out how to allow everybody to vote right freely and fairly at this point, then how about we just gonna create a universal voting system,
Thank you.
right?
They did
Will
it in Australia. If they can
get
do it in Australia, you get fined if you don't vote. So don't tell
right.
me it's not possible, right?
Oh, it is possible. It is possible, right?
Mm.
There are different ways that we can show up and do things. And even the whole idea, like how much value we've placed on working people to death. People are working themselves to death. I remember I had a family member that retired, had never taken off work, and he had so much time built in. I think he had 6 months of vacation time built in, but that his health got bad. So when he retired, he had to retire 6 months early to use his vacation time, right? And he was bedridden for the rest of his life. Like, why are we doing that? And part of the reason why we're doing that is because we've accepted that this economic system just needs to be tweaked a little bit, but everything is fine. It's okay for us to work hard because I worked hard. You got to pull yourself up out your bootstraps. Come on, y'all, give me a break. Y'all know that's a lie. But
It's a
aside from
lie.
that, it's a lie. The bottom line is, if there should be technology being developed, it should not be just so that other folks can become trillionaires. It should be in service of advancing humanity. People should not be, what's the magic in people working 40 hours a week? What's the magic of people working 60, 70 hours a week? We could literally use technology, not fire anybody. They're saying AI is going to replace jobs. It doesn't have to replace jobs. It can actually, you can actually shift jobs. You can literally have people making full-time salaries working 5 hours a week. And don't act like it ain't so, because you seeing folk in the White House that ain't working at all making money, but that's a whole nother story, right? But my point is, there's ways that we can actually utilize and leverage what exists and the advancements that it actually lends itself to making the quality of life of all people better. Part of the reason why everybody want to be a billionaire is because we know full well that the only thing that seems to protect you is having some wealth. That doesn't have to be the case. You can create economies, you can create structures, you can create nations that basic fundamental needs are taken care of its people, and that everything beyond that, what people want to do, they can go out and create and generate other things. But we're not shifting that thinking. We're still attached to this old way of thinking that really is based on, if you work hard, you're going to be rewarded, which we know that's not true. At one point, that if you go to college and you get out, you can buy a house. That's no longer true.
Nope.
That if you got a degree, you'll get a good paying job. That's not necessarily true, right? And so why are we still operating as if those tropes are still in place when there's a new reality, but there's also a new opportunity. A new opportunity.
One of your many interviews over the past months, there was a moment where I think you sang part of that. It's a spiritual, I think. Now, I'm not asking you to sing right now on this podcast, but I want folks to go and look for every chance you get to not only see LaTosha Brown speak, but to also witness the power of her artistry. I want to ask you about that intersection. Do you think those things are connected for you?
Oh, absolutely. While I do political work, I say all the time, our politics won't save us. It will be our humanity. Part of the reason, why I sing when I speak is to bring people back into remembrance of their own humanity. The bottom line is, we've actually put people in a box, like we're on some kind of Super Bowl where you got the red team and the blue team, and who team you with. I'm with the humanity team. And so part of what I think art does is it gives us the space to actually reclaim our humanity. As a singer, I can actually bring you along with me, whether you know the song or not. I can bring you along with me just to feel. Sometimes you hear somebody sing and it brings you goosebumps, or it just arrests your spirit, right? Because part of what I think music does, and why every single movement has had music, music and why every single culture on the earth that's been recorded has had a form of music, because I think it comes out of a place of where we hear, where we feel, where we are being. And there's something about it that kind of like wakes us up. And so part of why I sing is I want to call people back into themselves. Like I just
Yes.
want to come be back into yourself for a minute. Life has a rhythm. Like when you're out in the ocean, there's a rhythm, there's a
Yes.
sound. Like when
Yes.
you're walking outside, fall has a sound,
Yes.
summer has a sound, right?
Yes.
Spring has a sound,
Yes.
right? There's a pure part of sound
Mm.
that kind of reminds you that you're human. And so a part of me, that's why I sing.
I
Mhm.
remember watching the documentary Eyes on the Prize when I was a kid. And if everybody listening, if you don't know what Eyes on the Prize is, it was a PBS documentary that a lot of us in my generation, we watched it to be like, wow, look how crazy it was back then when everybody was overtly racist. Good thing that's never going to happen again. And now
That's
I'm
never
like,
happened.
oh shit, we got to reboot this thing. We got to get Eyes on the Prize 2.0. But the song, the lyrics, you don't have to sing it, but what are those lyrics?
Well, the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize and hold on, hold on. Is that the song?
Oh my God. Okay. I wish I was clever enough that I was really trying to, reverse
Oh,
psychology and
it's
get you to
okay.
sing without asking you to say, that's it. Well,
It's a movement song. It's about how we stand in our fight. That the first thing I did right was the day I started to fight. The last thing I did wrong is I stayed in the wilderness a day too long. But keep your eyes on the prize and hold on. Like, tell me that's not some truth in that.
first of all, nobody told me to wear my waterproof mascara. So that's you just did me a little bit dirty there. But other than that, the way that my soul just resonated, and for people who are listening to this and not watching it, I highly recommend you watch the video, because I just had this moment of, you took me someplace. I grew up in New York, but I have that I have relatives who made the great migration up from the South because, racism was that bad. And we're in this new place where, as I think about the song and the humanity that you're talking about, and that if we're not careful in this political moment, all we can do is look at polls and whatever, and we forget the creativity inside. What's the solution to get us, to help us hold on and not stay in the wilderness? Girl, we done stayed in the wilderness about a few years, decades too long. What can folks do right now where they are? I know you have practical tips.
Yes, I'm going to call this my V strategy. I'm going to start with the first V that I think is the most important, which is vision. Part of the reason why I asked the question of what America would look like without racism, it's important for us to actually have a vision of what it is that we want, not just what we don't want. And oftentimes when you ask people what it is that they want, they can't articulate it, right? And so, one, I'm hoping that the people that are listening, who you are, I hope you ask yourself that question, right? To
Yes.
push your thinking and your vision on possibilities. Push your thinking around visualizing what is the world that you want your children to inherit. The second V is around voice. This ain't the moment to be quiet, y'all. You cannot be silent when you're seeing your neighbors being mistreated. You have to use your voice in who you influence, whether that's at your places of work, whether that's in your organizations, whether that's with your family members. This is not the moment that you have to be silent. Your silence is complicit. And so you've got to actually use your voice in this moment. The third thing that I think really is important is to shift our paradigm of what we see as a victory. Like, what is a victory in this moment, right? What is a real victory for us in this moment, short term, but also long term? The fourth V is around voting. Like, I know folks will say, well, does a vote matter? You better believe it does. Now, I don't know if it's going to matter after this year if we don't show up, right? But what we do know, voting is one vehicle that actually can slow down and stop and reverse authoritarianism, the rise of authoritarianism, not just in America, that is throughout the world. Historically, that has happened. So we need to actually use our organizing power to really be able to register folks to vote, to organize us a kitchen cabinet and to vote. You better have some folks that are with you. I think the last thing that I'll say to wrap all of it up is I believe fundamentally that everybody needs some kind of political home. You need somewhere where you are getting information. Part of what social media has done, it's made everybody think of themselves as an influencer. Everybody thinks of themselves as an opinion maker. And people will say particular kind of positions and opinions to get followers, but not because they've been thoughtful around it, not because they've done the study, not because they're in conversation with each other. We've got to start building the muscle to have actually hard conversations in our families, in our communities. But you need a political home. You need an organization. This is not the moment to go it alone, y'all. You need to be a part of a collective power. And so I'm hoping that people at least do those things. See yourself. What's your vision? What's your vision for America going forward? How are you using your voice to actually lift and speak against those things that are hurting and harming people, and speak for those things that we desire, that we deserve? How are you shifting your paradigm around where you see what a victory is? And how are you using your power to vote and to get other people to engage in the process, so that we are using our agency to stop those things that are hurting and harming us?
Beautiful. And for people who have it to give or who have the time that they can offer, who would you recommend, LaTosha, if we could kind of have your list of the folks you would say, if you can only register in one place, or if you can only pick 2 organizations or 3, what would you recommend to
So
us?
there's a couple of organizations. There are organizations that are doing front lines. If you have $10, $100, I can't express how much those small donations mean to organizations like mine and others. Not even just because of money, it's like the intent behind the money. That when we see people give a $25 reoccurring donation, it says, I believe you, I stand with you. And so a couple of organizations, I'll lift my own.
Black Voters Matter, y'all. Black Voters Matter Fund.
I also think Fair Fight is doing amazing work. We're working with them around the Louisiana versus Calais case. I think that people should consider supporting the Legal Defense Fund. The Legal Defense Fund working to protect our rights and voting rights. There are some youth organizations. I think about Dream Defenders down in Florida, which I absolutely love. There's an organization called Woke that is ran by Johanna Thompson. They're doing amazing work. Until Freedom, they've been leading with Tamika Mallory, and get involved in the No Kings Alliance. They're the No Kings March that happened all across this country with 7 million people showing up. Y'all, and don't believe the hype. It is a growing multicultural, multiracial movement, right? That I think people are starting to understand, feel, and organizations like mine are actually getting involved and engaged. So there's so many opportunities and so much good work. And I love the Working Families Party. I got to do a shout out.
Yes, Working
Families Party, because you don't have to give up your current party affiliation, but it gives you a different kind of frame, and it gives you more support. And as you are voting and engaging in voting around leveraging your power as a voter. So those are just some of the organizations that are some of my favorite.
I love them all. That was spoken like a true founding mother. I'm right there with you. Founding mother energy all day. I feel like this is where we need to be, is spreading this love. And as you said, we are the stars. There's so many more of us than there are people who don't want to see us have another 250 years moving in the right direction. Thank you so much, LaTosha. Thank you for everything you do, everything you are. You one of my favorite stars.
Thank you.
I don't even need a telescope.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Yeah, we're gonna let our light shine.
Yes, you got me singing with you. I'm like ready to harmonize. This little light of mine. All right, now.
Come on.
Be careful. You and I will be on stage. I will provide harmonies. This is happening. We'll let the people know when it's time. I'm so grateful to have you on.
Thank you, sister. Love you.